Hey, so in this short video, what I want to do is introduce you to a problem called the Keynesian beauty contest. I'm going to show you how that relates to the problem of funding for public goods, and that if we could solve the Keynesian beauty contest problem, then we would have a path to funding public goods. And then I'm going to show you index wallets, which are a tool for solving the problem of Keynesian beauty contests. And what's going to be exciting about this is that by the end of this, you'll have a very intuitive understanding of the mechanism and the ways in which you might use it in whatever your own work is in order to fund public goods. So let's put me in the corner and let's draw some pictures. Okay, so the um, the the topic is uh, what are index wallets? How do they work? And how can we use them to fund public goods? So let's, for our example, pick a specific public good that we want to fund. I'm going to say Wikipedia. So the problem that Wikipedia faces is that they have all these contributors that are doing valuable work that isn't being rewarded. And similarly, they have costs, so, their hosting costs and site development costs that are also not free. And yet, of course, they provide a extremely valuable service to the world, which is access to information. Of course, you and I have all uh, uh, experienced finding a Wikipedia page that has proven incredibly valuable for the project that we were supposed to finish a couple of hours ago. And and instead of having to do deep research, it's all right there, including links to all of the sources. And so this is extremely valuable, but it's not free. And so how can we fund this? Well, one way, if you're familiar with the crypto space, that you might think of funding this is you might say, well, what if there were tokens that you could emit to the people that were contributing, right? So both to the people who were editing the articles, but also the people who were helping to maintain the site. And by the way, there's some people that might at this point say, well, actually, we don't want to fund the people who are uh, editing the articles because that would change the incentives in some way. And to that, I just say, this is just an example. We can think of many public goods that we would like to fund, like libraries and librarians, or park rangers at your open space parks, that we would like to fund if we could find a way to do it. So here we're just using Wikipedia as an example. So the idea that you might come up with is you might say, well, we have this new ability to print these non-counterfeitable tokens. What if you could print tokens like wiki tokens, and you could emit those? The Wikipedia Foundation or the community around Wikipedia could emit these wiki tokens to members of the community that had made particularly valuable contributions, and that they could, alongside their, let's say that this is their USDC, their USD, they could go and use that to purchase goods at the store. And one of the things that you might notice right away is that this creates a problem, which is that when this person wants to go and spend money with this person, um, they're going to approach and they're going to say, "Hey, can I, buy this pizza?" Here, I'm going to draw you a pizza. This is an excellently drawn pizza. Um, I'd like to buy this pizza. Here's what I have in my wallet. Can I pay you with these? And of course, what is this person going to say? Well, they're going to think about the person that they need to pay. Maybe the supplier that provides them with the ingredients to make the pizza, and they're going to say, the only currency that I'm willing to accept, the only currency you can pay me with, is USD, right? Because they know that the only currency that they can pay this person with is USD. Okay, so this is the introduction to our problem. We would like for this person who was a contributor to Wikipedia to be able to pay using the wiki tokens that have been emitted by the Wikipedia community in order to buy their pizza. But they can't, because this person won't accept it, and this person won't accept it because this person won't accept it. And this helps us to motivate the uh, the Keynesian beauty contest, Kaynesian. I always have trouble spelling this. Um, But Keynesian beauty contest is something. It's named after John Maynard Keynes, who is a famous economist, and it's the story of how it used to be in magazines and newspapers of old. There were these contests where people were asked to rate who was the most attractive person um, in of a list of faces that they were shown, and they were supposed to write in with the people that they thought were the most attractive. And you might think, well, at first, isn't this a little bit boring? And I'm going to show you that there's a little bit of a twist, because if you were to just poll people and ask them, who do you think is the most attractive, then it wouldn't be that everybody is equal, but you'd have some people that were considered very attractive, and other people that were considered a little bit less attractive. But there'd be some distribution that looks like this, right? But that's not what a Keynesian beauty contest is. A Keynesian beauty contest, as opposed to a regular beauty contest, asks you to try and figure out who do you think everybody else will think is the most attractive. And I think that there is some sort of prize for the people who accurately made the prediction. And what you would find then is, when you play the Keynesian beauty contest, where everybody's trying to answer the question, who is everybody else going to find the most attractive, that everybody really easily answers one person. There ends up being one person that takes the vast majority of the votes. Everybody else just goes to zero. And you can hopefully get a sense for why this is relevant to our problem from before. You know, whereas down here we're talking about people, up here we're talking about currencies. And in fact, what we could do is we could kind of just grab these little icons here, and we could move them in place on top of these various different people, and it would be, the story would work just as well, right? And it's kind of this story of like, which currency would you be willing to accept? Um, and what we see is that maybe in a normal situation, in a non-Keynesian beauty contest situation, or a non-Keynesian, I don't know what we call this, the non-Keynesian currency situation, the uh, you'll have this distribution of preferences. But in the Keynesian currency situation, you have just everybody prefers one currency, that is the local currency, whether that's yen or USD or euros or pesos or whatever. And so that's the only thing that you can end up paying with. And so this helps to hopefully motivate um, where we would like to get to. What we'd like to do is we'd like to find a mechanism that gets us out of this trap, that moves us away from the Keynesian beauty contest, where this person is having to reason about what the next person is going to be willing to accept, and gets us into like the regular beauty contest, the regular currency contest, where everybody can have different preferences, and those different preferences can be expressed. And the way that we're going to do this is with a mechanism called an index wallet. And let me show you how the index wallet handles this. I'm going to create myself some space. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to change how we view the currencies that are in this person's account. So we're going to do a horizontal line um, to indicate the number of currencies that are in their account. So here we're saying there's 2 USD in their account. We're going to do a vertical line in order to show how much they value um, the this currency. So let's just say that this length is $1. And you can see that this creates a little area in here. This would be an area of 2 in this case, of how much they value it, their valuation for the currency, and then how much of it they have in the horizontal axis. And we can do the same thing for the wiki tokens. And so this is just an equivalent representation of this over here, except now, they're able to express their own local preferences for these tokens, instead of um, what the market might say the global value is. And you're going to see why this is interesting or important in just a little bit. Here, I've made the wiki token a little bit more valuable according to this person than USD, and they have the same quantity, right? So that's why it's the same width. And an index wallet actually is extremely simple. If you want to understand the mechanism, it's perfectly elegant, which is that all that it's doing is constraining how you can pay. And we can visualize it with this vertical line. Essentially, what an index wallet says is that when you go to pay someone, you can move this vertical line around left and right as much as you want. But what you can never do is control exactly how much of any particular currency you send to the next person. So, you're trying to purchase this pizza again. You can't just send USD. You can't just send wiki tokens. You have to send some combination of the two. In this case, in this proportion, whatever this proportion is. And so for this to work, that must mean that this person over here also has their own valuation, right? They have their own valuation of the currencies over here. And you can see how they would be able to kind of let's draw a little box. This box is going to represent the fee that they would like to charge for this pizza. This is the total quantity of value they expect to receive. And this is actually rigorous, by the way. It's perfectly fine to show this as just an area. But if you want more details, you can check out index.option.app for all of the like working out of what's going on here. But here I'm telling a simplified story. And so this person, of course, if they want to buy this pizza, then they need to go and fill this rectangle. And so let's help them fill this rectangle. I think that looks about right. And so we're going to put this here, and then we can move this over here. And oops, what did I just do? Here, this will be better. Move this over here, and you can see it fills it up, no problem. And now the transaction, I guess we should make these smaller because they've paid. And now the transaction can complete. They're paying here in fractions of currency. So we imagine that everything is infinitely divisible, at least for this story. And so that's it. In principle, you understand how an index wallet works. But what's really interesting about an index wallet are the emergent dynamics that it creates, because it's not necessarily the case that this person needs to have the same valuation as this person over here. In fact, they could value wiki tokens much less than this person does. And if they did that, let's go ahead and shrink this down so it's the same height. And you'll see that there's like this gap that's missing from the payment in order for this pizza to be transferred. And so what this person is going to have to do is they're going to have to pay a little bit more out of their wallet. So let's see if we can visualize that. We're going to put this over here. We're going to put this over here. And this comes over here. Now, of course, we have to shrink this down because this person doesn't see it as the same amount of value. And sure enough, like at this point, I think we can kind of put it at an angle, and you can see how I did a decent job eyeballing the amount extra that they have to pay in order to kind of totally fill up this person's set of preferences, so that they get what feels to them like the price, the original price in this dotted rectangle that they wanted to charge. And you might think, well, wait a second, what's the point of this mechanism if all that it does is it can make someone need end up paying what turns out to be more of a particular currency than what they feel like they should be paying? You can see why this matters when we add competition to the story. So now we imagine that there's another person who runs a pizza shop, and they can have a different valuation than this person does. And so this gives them the opportunity to compete on valuation, to compete on the amount that they fund, that they're willing to fund public goods. I think I have somewhere in here, I have the original. I can't find it. So what this would mean is that even though this person can charge the same amount, in principle, they have the same price that they want to charge. Over here, if they choose to purchase from this vendor, then this person feels like they pay less than if they were to purchase from this vendor, because remember, they had to pay this little extra amount. And so in the end here, this would be, if they had purchased from this vendor, then they would have only sent this much instead of having to send that extra bit. And so now this valuation is something that, because this person endorses, they consider valuable the wiki tokens, the person who holds the wiki tokens would prefer to buy from them, and then they'll have more business. And why would they be willing to do this? Well, they really would only be willing to do this if it allows them to get enough additional customers that it outweighs whatever the valuation is going to be when they go to their supplier. And for this story, we can just imagine that maybe their supplier has the same valuation as they do. And so now, when they go to buy the ingredients that are necessary in order to create the pizza, that it also ends up being worth the same amount as they consider it to be in their account right here. So that's the whole story. That's the whole mechanism behind index wallets. It's just, you're paying with a slice, a fraction, a bundle of currencies, and that it creates this opportunity for competition around valuation. And alone, this is not enough to fund public goods. But what it is it's a stable configuration that's very different from, say, the configuration of speculative tokens like you currently see in the crypto market. Because in crypto today, these speculative tokens, the more they go up, the more that people have a reason to defect. Right? So when they're really high and people think that other people are going to start selling, then people start selling, and then that creates a feedback loop, and then it crashes, and we all know that story. Whereas here, if you have a community that's buying from one another and receiving value from one another, then if they have their valuation too low, like in the case of this person, lower than their customer and lower than a supplier, then they're missing out on business. And if they have their valuation too high, like let's imagine that this person had their valuation higher, then it's kind of like they're giving a discount, right? They're like, they could be charging more. And so their incentive is always to become level with the valuations of everybody else who is in their economic community. And this is really powerful because it means that we've found a stable equilibrium for the valuation of wiki tokens. So if there was a way for the community to find a way to push the value of wiki tokens up, then that would be sticky, right? Instead of interacting with a spring, which comes back to some value, it's like interacting with clay, where when you press into the clay, the clay retains that shape. So this is like a clay-like mechanism. And you can see how that would be useful to the funding of public goods. What this doesn't answer, and you might be thinking about, and might be the topic of a future video, is questions about, okay, but what are the actual means by which a community could come to influence their valuation of, in this case, wiki tokens? How do you prevent people from abusing this ability, so that they could just print themselves a whole bunch of new tokens? And how does this interact with global markets, right? So there's a global market for USD, for example. And so that market will probably influence the value of USD in this community. But the wiki tokens might not have as liquid of a market, and because of that, might not be as influenced by um, the global price of these tokens. And so those are all really valuable things to explore. And probably if this is interesting, then I'll explore them in a subsequent video. For now, I just wanted to get across in an intuitive way the mechanism of index wallets, the way in which it solves the Keynesian beauty contest, the way in which solving the Keynesian beauty contest is a path towards enabling these alt tokens to become valuable, stably valuable, and that enabling stably valuable alt tokens could be a way to fund public goods like Wikipedia. If you find this interesting, then please share this with other people you think would find it interesting or could find use of it. This is free for anyone to go and use. And also, please leave comments about ways in which you would look to break this system, things that you think don't make sense. Because right now we're partnering with an economic simulation team to run simulations of the model and also do the game theory on the model to find ways in which it doesn't work as we might expect. So thank you so much for watching, and take care. Bye.